Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker. You are on the backup lens today, so hopefully it works out well. I'm not sure. It's actually the kit lens that came with the camera. And what we're doing and talking about is prepping a bike for a road trip. So I just changed the oil on this 1997 CB750 Nighthawk. I will leave links for everything that we talk about here, like whether it be chain tensioning and all that stuff up there as we run through the video. Or I'll also leave some links in the description. So first and foremost, the easy one. So the first thing you want to check on your tires is obviously that you have tread left. So these are pretty new. I changed them out when I bought the bike, and I don't ride this bike that much. It's Toasters, my wife's. And you want to make sure that you've good tread left, and also like put your hand across it and make sure there's just no funny ridges. But you want to check, number one, nothing obviously stuck in the tire, and that you have plenty of tread left. So these tires, even though I bought them a few years ago, well, 1 year ago, they're actually made in 2012, the two of them, because these tires are actually hard to get for this bike. But either way, they do have a longer shelf life, but obviously, ideally you want a tire that is newer than that. But because I bought them new not that long ago, they're still okay. Kind of like my rule of thumb is 5 years on the bike from point of purchase. And again, these tires are good. So that's all you want to check. Tread pattern, and just make sure you don't have any cracking or whatever else. So like sidewalls wise, I know the light isn't fantastic here, but sidewalls wise, you just want to make sure there's no cracking or any dry rot on the tires. Next, obviously what I have already done is change the oil. You do want to make sure you've good oil. I also did recently do the brake pads and brake lines on this bike, so there's a video there. But you want to check them. You can usually see in from here, so difficult for you to see, I'm sure, but you can actually see the pad thickness there. That is one way to check. And also I have changed these brake lines recently, so I know the fluid is good. But you also want to check not only the level of your fluid, but the color. You want to check your throttle cables, make sure that these aren't sticking. I will do a video on how to lube these. I don't think I've ever done a video on how to lube these. Ooh, thunderstorm coming. And then obviously if you need to tighten or loosen your cables, you don't want like too much play here. You can quick adjust here, or you can go to the deeper adjuster. On this bike, it's literally all the way in there, so I'm not going to do that today. Same thing with your clutch. You want to make sure that you have plenty of free play. Or not free play, you want to make sure it's adjusted correctly and also that it's moving nicely, that it's not sticking. I did also recently grease the clutch cable when I changed these bars. Next you want to just check your chain, and this chain is being a bit weird, so I'm going to check into that today. It's like hitching on something, but I think that might be the rear drum. But you want to check your chain, basically your chain tension. You may need to tighten up your chain, and you just want to make sure it's cleaned and greased. I just greased this one, you might be able to see the greasiness on it. Could be slightly cleaner, but it was ridden today because I was testing it, making sure everything was good. And then the next thing that I generally do is I will grab a flashlight or a torch, and I literally go around the whole engine and just check for leaks. So you can actually see on the carbs were recently leaking slightly when it was kind of laid up over winter, because I forgot to drain them. But thankfully the seals did right themselves when we started moving again. And then I did have that leak down onto this, so I left that on here. I haven't cleaned it yet just so I could show you, but that's kind of what you're looking for. So that leaked from the carbs onto the left side of the engine, and left that stain. Same thing over here, you can actually kind of see in there that little bit of old dried up fuel. Not an active leak, and you do want to make sure you don't have an active leak, obviously, because that's a safety concern. My spark plugs are also quite new, as is my air filter, but do check your air filter element. You know, there's no harm in popping it out of the bike. On this one, it's pretty easy. You pop the seat off, take off this left hand side cover here, and then your air box is right there. I think I did a video on that. If I did, I will link that too. But that's kind of everything you want to do. Obviously, this bike, I do have battery tenders, so I keep the battery charged up. The nice thing about batteries is it's in America, it's not the end of the day. You know, if you lose a battery in America, it's generally pretty easy to get a new battery. In Ireland, sometimes it can be more challenging. In Germany, you've got your Louis kind of all over the place. You want to check your fork seals for leaks as well, up front here. Make sure they're not leaking. Obviously, ideally do this like a week before you go, so you've time to buy parts and fix things. I kind of keep an eye on the bike, so I know that it's good already. But the big thing to do is, you know, if you're going to run over your oil change interval while you're away on the bike, just change it early. You know, it's going to in no way hurt the bike if you change the oil early. It might even benefit it. But the big things are check and change your oil if needed, and your oil filter. Check and tighten your chain if needed. Usually just get it into your window. Personally, you know, if I'm doing 1,000 miles or whatever else, I will not tighten my chain while I'm on that trip. There's just no point. It's just too much hassle. It's hard to make sure it's straight. So I'll tighten it up, and I'll bring a small can of grease and spray while I'm on the road. And generally, once I get home, chain is still well within spec because it's been greased and tightened appropriately. Obviously, oil. Check your oil. Top up your oil. My God, hold on, I'll close that door. But yeah, check your oil. Top up your oil. If needed. Personally, like I said, if I'm doing a big trip, I'll just change it. Even if I'm like halfway through it, I just prefer it, because generally if you're on a trip, you're going to be, you know, keeping the engine wide open for longer on highways and whatever else, so you are stressing it more. And oil is like the cheapest thing you can do to keep your bike in good condition. It really, 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 really is. So that's what I do as well. And you know, other than that, just make sure your maintenance items are up to date. It's nicely easy for me. I actually enjoy working on bikes, so usually I have everything kind of up to date. But fork seals right there, you want to check them for leaks. You want to check your brakes for how much pad is left on them, and for leaks. Brake fluid, if you have a hydraulic clutch, you want to check your clutch fluid. Chain, oil levels and whatnot. And then just make sure, like I said, your spark plugs and whatever else are at a recently decent interval. You know, you don't want to end up in a situation where you're out on the road and your spark plugs are like 80,000 miles old for whatever reason, and you basically they just die. And ride your bike before you go. That is the best way to spot if you have any issues. Just ride your bikes. You know, which might sound overly simplistic, but if you ride it, you'll generally feel where issues are or are not. Like I said, I rode the CB750 today. Everything feels good, brakes are good. Drum brake probably does need to be changed, so I'm going to do that because that feels weird, but not a concern for this trip. And I'm also probably going to do, well, not probably, I have new fork seals and fork bushes for the bike. We'll do them when we get back. And you know, the reason I'm not doing them before we go, and this is another thing to be cognizant of, is, you know, if everything is kind of okay, change the oil and just run with it. What can happen, and what has happened to people I know in the past, is, you know, they're planning a big trip, they panic and try to do lots of stuff, and then they'll forget something, and down the road something breaks, something falls off, and then, you know, you're left and you're miserable because you might miss a ferry, you might miss something else like that, or a timeline that you're really trying to hit. Sometimes with big service items, just wait till you get back. If you don't have time up front to do them and test them, you know, try not to do things the night before. I probably shouldn't give that advice because I adjusted the valves on the V-Strom the day before I went on a big trip, and I also changed the chain and sprockets on the V-Strom right before I went on a big trip. So, you know, I'm not practicing what I preach, but I've been working on bikes and cars a long time. I generally do keep a list, if not mental, then physically a list of what I need to tighten back up. And I do actually use paint marks as well a lot of the time on important stuff to make sure that when I'm visually going back over it, that it is all done. But that's it. I mean, pre-trip checks may sound like common sense. They kind of are common sense, but a lot of people forget to do them. The big one, which I'm going to keep stressing, is your oil. Check your oil, change your oil filter. That looks after 99% of problems. It really does. Tires, check your tires. Check your tires. Don't end up, you know, 500 miles away from home realizing, oh, these tires are actually near end of life, and you end up with wire showing, and it's hard. It's a weekend, it's a Sunday, it's hard to get a tire change, and you need to be back, you know, Sunday evening to get to work on Monday. That's not a fun time. I generally change tires early. It's just a nice peace of mind. The more tread you have, the less likely you're to get a puncture. it's just easier that way. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to do a video on what kit I bring on longer multi-day trips, tools, you know, puncture repair kits, stuff like that. I'll do a video on that soon. But other than that, if you watch, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully if you spotted any of this stuff and like, oh, I should do that, you see a video linked in the description or up there that you can click on and watch. If you have any questions at all on any of these checks, like pre-trip checks, please leave them in the comments. This video is nearly more of like a get yourself your mind juices flowing. But like the big ones, just to recap one more time: oil filter, tires, air filter, check for leaks. Huge one, check for leaks. Brakes are massive. You need your brakes, okay? You need your brakes. Brake fluid, clutch fluid if you have clutch fluid, lube your cables, and after that you're pretty good. Like spark plugs are something you should stay on top of in general, but if, you know, generally a spark plug won't fail you on a trip, unless you're doing like 10, 20,000 miles. If you're doing a few thousand miles, if the spark plugs are going, they're probably gonna be okay. Same thing with fork seals. If fork seals aren't leaking, they're probably gonna be okay, you know, so hit the easy stuff. The easy stuff is honestly the 90% stuff. Air filter, oil filter, tires, brakes. Once you have them, you're good. If you can go and you can stop, you're good. And if you can stay on the road, tires will keep you on the road, but they also help you go and stop. So yeah, that's it. That's all I have. Yeah, I know this was probably a pretty simplistic video, but I've been asked for it. Someone actually, Toaster asked for it as well. So hopefully it was something to get the mind juices flowing. That's the main thing, because I think a lot of people forget about this stuff pre-trip. It's what I enjoy doing it, to be honest. It's an excuse to get out and check over the bikes. And like I said, I actually left that leak fluid before I cleaned it off on the bike, just to show everyone that stuff like that does happen. If you've your bike left sitting up, small leaks can happen. Seals can shrink if there's not fuel getting to them and whatnot, and it's just something to watch. I actually cleaned off one side of it. I don't know if you see that on the engine, to make sure it wasn't still leaking, and it's not. So, but definitely something to be aware of, something to be monitoring. You don't want fuel leaks. Fuel leaks are bad. They cause fires. You don't want oil leaks, because oil can leak onto your back tire, front tire, and then you're having a really bad day because you're not going to stay on the road. So yeah, anyway, like I said, if you have any questions, please do leave them down in the comments. I can make shorts to walk through bits and pieces. I can answer questions in shorts if you want something more detailed, or just reply in a comment. So yeah, anyway, thank you for watching. Special thank you as always to all of my patrons. I really do appreciate your support. I can't wait for this trip. It's a week off work, and I'd take any time off work at this point. And yeah, until next time, thank you for watching. Hopefully this did help someone somewhere. Adios. So as a little end piece to the preparing for a trip video that you just watched, my hands after I did the chain, I cleaned the front sprocket on the chain. Front sprocket. I cleaned the front sprocket of the bike. And my hands obviously were filthy. You'll see clips in the other way videos of me washing my hands, and something I've been meaning to mention in videos for quite a long time is Ernie's degreasing hand soap. A little note here from Vanessa, who sent it to me from Ernie's. I'm not going to read that out, but thank you, Vanessa, much appreciated. My brother-in-law actually met her on travels and got these sent over to test. My request to everything is let me test it properly, so it's been a long time. Multiple cars. Everyone knows I don't wear gloves. I get lots of comments that I'm going to die a horrible death from not wearing gloves, but it is what it is. However, this does make my hands clean again, so like anyone who works on chains and front sprockets and stuff knows that gloop that's on the front sprocket is just about the hardest stuff to get out of your hands, and mine are actually clean after using this for like 30 seconds, so it works really well. If you're looking for a hand soap with like coconut oil, water, sodium hydroxide, I don't know, is that one? That doesn't sound too great. Well, I know it's used in lots of stuff. It's probably not as scary. Sand, literal sand, activated charcoal, and balsam for essential oil. That's what's in it on the ingredients. If you are looking for some hand soap and you work on bikes and don't wear gloves like me, try Ernie's. I've been impressed. I actually have no idea how much it costs, to be honest, but hopefully not that much. Let me check. Oh, that's actually really good. A single bar of this is $5.99. I've been using that other one for like months at this point, and it hasn't gotten like that much smaller. It's probably about 50% of the original bar. And you can get nail brushes and stuff. That's actually really reasonable. I was already going to say yes, I would buy more of it, but like a 3-pack is $16. I would definitely I will be buying more of it when this runs out. So yeah, I should have checked the price earlier. I'm kind of impressed now. That's good. Yeah, anyway, sorry for the little addendum to the video, but I just wanted to let you know that you can clean your hands and not wear gloves and get shouted at on the internet too. Outro crew. What's the main thing you like to check before a trip? Other than clean underwear, that's also a very important one. Clean underwear, clean socks. But yeah, what's the one thing that probably happened to you before that you like to check? There's certain things you just have to deal with. I mean, you have failures on trips. It happens. You figure it out along the way. Having friends helps. So yeah. Hopefully we don't need any help or support on this trip. Hopefully it all goes swimmingly, but things happen. Things have happened to me before, and things will happen to me again, and you just deal with them on the road. It's part of the adventure. Bye, outro crew.